they want the whole performance, and it's like, I've had this for a day. What do you want me to like? You want me to create the pen? They're gonna give you the really, maybe it's like a dramedy. They're gonna give you like a really funny scene. You have to do all the comedy, and then it's like, okay, the penultimate breakup scene or something like that, and it's like, I just got this last night. You want me to do the biggest scene in your movie right now?
Here with Alex Koch.
Yes,
I pronounced that right for once in my life.
After
for some
5 years.
reason.
Yeah.
For some reason, he was Alex Koch, like Ed Koch.
Yeah.
No
Mayor.
no relation.
Yes.
No relation to
the
the Koch brothers.
Okay,
No,
good. Thank
no.
you. Yeah, for the record, you need to put that out
yes.
there. Thank you.
Yeah, I have
Very
to say it
quickly.
in audition rooms a lot.
Oh,
just
really?
To make, yeah,
Oh, okay.
just to make it clear. Would love that money though, but no. No.
All right, as a kind of tradition here,
Uh-oh.
we read your IMDb.
No.
Yes, I know.
Oh, okay, go
People
for it.
hate it.
Yes, we do.
Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
Koch was heavily involved in both local community and high school theater productions.
Yeah.
True so far?
Yeah.
He attended the theater school at DePaul University. False.
No,
that's
very true.
I know.
Very, very true.
Alexander Koch made his acting debut as Frank in Eddie O'Keefe's independent short film, The Ghosts.
Yeah.
The film centers on Frank, the tough yet thoughtful leader of the 1950s greaser gang, who descends on a modern town and falls in love with the daughter of a preacher. The film premiered at the 2011 Brooklyn Film Festival, went on to receive accolades from the Los Angeles Times, Chicago International Film Festivals, and Geneva Film Festivals. Koch's stellar portrayal of Frank landed him in Los Angeles in 2012.
Who wrote this? I don't know.
I
who
have
wrote
no
this.
idea.
We are
And they're
always
talking
stumped
about the
by
short
that.
film I did like a billion years ago. But okay. And they're
Where
really
he
laying on
auditioned
them
for his first television pilot and was cast for the role of Junior Rennie. Some of your credits. So that was what TV show?
Under the Dome.
Under the Dome.
Under the Dome.
I've also, some other credits are The Code, Sorry for Your Loss,
Yes.
Parked. Always Shine, The Ghost, which we talked about.
Yeah.
So, Alex, sorry to embarrass you with
No,
that.
it's okay. I got to update that.
Yes.
Someone has to update that. It just talks for like a paragraph about the short film. That's funny. I don't
But
know.
that got you going.
Yeah, that's how I got my first manager, and that was that's how I met I met Eddie in college. He's still like a really, really good friend, and he he's like making so many different things right now, but he's a really great writer, and he's been a good friend. And when I moved out here, I slept on his couch for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that was one of the most fun experiences shooting, and one of my first experiences shooting like film stuff. And because I was at school, I was doing theater, and then I met Eddie at a party, and then we kind of made this guerrilla style short of just like going and breaking into places and shooting quickly and then running out like in junkyards and stuff. And yeah.
When did you first want to be an actor? We're definitely circling back to DePaul, but
Yeah. Probably when I was a kid. I loved movies and would watch like so many.
How old are we talking?
I want to say 6 or 7, but it's also a thing of it just felt so unrealistic too, because it just feels so out of reach. But I always had a thing when I was younger where it was like I still have this. Every time I move away from acting, I feel weird. Like every time I'm kind of like, maybe I don't want to do this, and then it's like, no, this is like in me. This is part of me. So yeah, growing up and doing theater productions and all of that, like show choir and what was it, like musicals and stuff. That was.
Yeah. So as a young,
informative.
you're performing. You're doing community theater, like I said.
Yeah.
Show choir. What is that?
That's like singing and dancing and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like musicals and stuff. That's what I mean.
Don't
That's
slough off
embarrassing.
the musicals.
No, I hate it. It's like an embarrassing thing. But yeah.
Do you like musicals to this day, or
Yeah, it depends on what it is, but
gotcha?
yeah, like I grew up. One of the first movies I saw was Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So that was something that shaped my childhood a little bit, and like, yeah, musicals and
No
all
wonder
that.
you're twisted.
Yeah, a little bit. That makes sense. But yeah, doing a lot of that as a kid, and it's interesting because I always had a thing of like, okay, I'm not the best singer or best actor, but I was just like, I really love this, and I kept going and going and going, and then the people who were the best got tired of it and would leave.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I would just be like, well, I don't want to leave. I want to keep going and keep trying to make whatever we're doing and make it deeper and go further with it.
So you're involved in high school drama and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then when does DePaul come around? When does that thought of that and that next step happen for you?
So I auditioned for all these different schools for theater and musical theater, and I got rejected. It was like senior year, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something in film. I knew that. And so I was a film major first. And I was basically, the school I went to, Western Michigan, it was basically teaching you to be almost like a film critic or analyst or something. And yeah, it didn't have like the hands-on thing. Kind of like we weren't really doing
But let me
much
go back
in terms of
just a
creative,
little bit.
yeah.
What schools did you want to get into, and what was it, like monologues you had to do for them?
Yeah, monologues, and then I think 2 songs for musical theater and stuff like that. And it's painstaking. It's so bad because you go to this big. I did this for DePaul too. You go to this big hotel, and it's one of those like huge cattle calls, and there's kids from all over the country, and you see like stage moms like sitting there like looking around at the competition, and everyone's being nuts, and it's not conducive to like creativity. It's just like, am I good enough to get into? And you're 18. Like, what are you gonna know at that age that, like, oh, am I gonna make a choice of being an actor at this school for the rest of my life? And it's like part of the problem with college debt and all that stuff. And it's like, you don't know. I mean, it's a big decision, but you're kind of forced to go into this big thing.
What were your monologues?
Many people. For DePaul, I did.
No, I want to go for the initial
I don't even remember.
Don't even remember.
Oh, it was.
It was like blackout time, going in there and just doing it.
Something from Biloxi Blues, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that was it.
So you go, you do all the big boys, and you get back all rejection letters, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. I think I got waitlisted for one, and then I got accepted to Arizona State, but I think my family wanted me to stay in. They wanted that in-state tuition. So
you decide to go to Western Michigan.
I go to Western Michigan, and I auditioned for. I was in a kind of like a community theater scene there, and I have 2 people, Randy Wolf and Adam Carter, who were basically the only reason I kept doing acting. I auditioned for, they did Reefer Madness, the musical, and that was so much fun. And I got to play like a really crazy character in that. And then we did the musical Hair, and then we did, what else? We did a couple other things, but they were just 2 great mentors that believed in me. And Adam Carter became my roommate at one point, and we were on improv teams together. And yeah, they were both like, just like, keep going. Like, why stop? And then Randy Wolf was like, you need to go to DePaul, because he went to the Goodman School of Drama. That's what it was before.
Right.
And he was there with John C. Reilly and Gillian Anderson and all that group. And he was just like, keep doing this. You like this. You don't want to be a film major. You enjoy this. I see it in you. Like, keep going. And so that's when I auditioned for DePaul and got in. And
what were your so you remember your monologues from then?
Fat Pig. I did something from Fat Pig by LaBute. And I... Yeah.
Bold?
Yeah, it was. It was
Pretty
kind of bold.
Yeah.
It was, I think the character's named Carter, and he's talking about his overweight mother, and it's kind of a pretty scathing thing about like him
Yeah.
freaking out on his mom in a grocery store because she's getting giant bags of Snickers or something, and he's so embarrassed by her, and yeah, and then
That's quite a play.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so good. Yeah,
It's
I think it's
brutal.
his best. I really do. Yeah.
And so, how long is the waiting process? You do it, you wait.
I got waitlisted.
You got
too.
waitlisted.
Yeah. I did the monologue, I did all the audition, and I was there. God, I can't even remember. And then I waited, I think, 5-6 months, and found out I got waitlisted, and then I found out I got accepted, and it was me and my roommates. We were doing the musical Hair at the time, and they were excited for me, but they're like, I can't believe you're leaving. I was like, do I do it? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, you should go, but it just sucks because we love having you here, and yeah.
You can obviously sing then. It seems like musical theater was kind of like a little bit of an entry.
Yeah. I moved away from it, definitely.
But
But
now you sound like you're not really a big fan. I'm curious. Like, what?
I think there's a lot of like bad Broadway stuff being. Well, they're just like doing the thing of let's just take whatever movie and turn it into a musical right now, and it's like you don't have that original thing. And I think that's kind of the problem in Hollywood too. We're trying to recreate Ninja Turtles or something, and like there's no original ideas. It's just like let's bank off of something that came out that might be a success
Right. That's
based
true.
on nostalgia.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Nothing they say. There's nothing better than good musical theater, but there's nothing worse than bad musical
Yeah.
theater. I think
Yeah.
you could probably say that about a lot of things.
That's true.
But,
Yeah.
But like when you first started, like when you got accepted to DePaul, did you imagine a career in theater, or did you always, because of that film major thing, did you always want to get into film and television? Was that always?
Yeah, that was
goal
kind of
for you?
always the goal. Dan, another friend of mine, he's like a brother to me. He was the first person I met at DePaul. He and I think we talked about the first day. We were just like, yeah, we want to go to LA. Oh, because I also I interned at Fox one summer. I came out here. I went to UCLA. UCLA was another school I got waitlisted for, but I had a bad grade point average, and I didn't get it. Fuck it. But that was so great coming out here, and I was here. I was in like the 1 hour drama division, and I was just reading scripts all day and watching pilots, and I think I watched the Gossip Girl pilot and stuff, and Chuck, that show. And
You were like, this is going to be a hit, Bosh.
yeah, pretty much. It was like, it was so crazy just kind of seeing that world and being on the other side of it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I still love both sides of it, of the writing side and the acting side, and seeing kind of how it all works was just so crazy. And I was just like, yeah, I definitely want to be in LA. I need to be here.
Yeah. And so you know that you're there, and tell me about those 4 years there at DePaul.
It's tough. It was, it's really difficult. You have a schedule that's so tight, just made up. Like you have movement class, you have voice class, you have yoga, and then like senior year you have African dance. Don't know what that's for. But you're like all over the place, and it's and then on top of that you leave at around 4:00 after all your classes, and then you go to do a stage show because you have guaranteed casting. But the first year is the toughest because we had the cut system, so we went from 50 kids to 25, and that's
brutal.
It was brutal.
How do you
I don't
be
think they do it
creative
anymore.
under that environment?
I don't think
Are
you
you just
can.
constantly worried that
Yeah.
I need to do good work? And-
Yeah, I think they got rid of it. I think they did. But at the same time, it's like there are benefits to it because you can watch someone grow over the year and see how much progress they made. Or it's just like, okay, we'll just accept who's going to be the best auditioners at this,
sure.
like, one day. Like they come
really
in and
tough
they do
to
a
tell.
monologue. Yeah. You don't know how they're going to grow or what they're going to do and that type of thing. So I think there was benefits to it, but then there's also, it's tough and it's kind of humiliating. Like, especially if you get cut after the first year. I had friends who did get cut, and that was devastating for them. They were like, what do I do now? I have no idea. Do I keep going to DePaul? Like some of them, one of my friends went to Cal Arts and she loved it. And that was like a great thing for her to kind of have her life diverted somewhere else. And she came out here and got into another great school. So,
What was the first big, like, mind-blowing shit that happened to you there? Because here you are all these years of doing, you know, community theater, high school, and stuff like that. And then the first, like, shit that kind of hits you that when you get there. Do you remember any experience like that? Like
acting-wise? Like an epiphany?
Yeah. Life, business, acting, whatever, that you were just like, oh, shit.
I think I just I just figured out more of who I am when I was there, and I met great people, and also I figured out what kind of stories I really want to tell. I think that was the most important thing. I had a director. We did Lie of the Mind by Sam Shepard. And that's one of my favorite plays, and I was like, I love this type of story. I know.
Another great play.
Yeah. It's it's so good. Like I just really discovering Sam Shepard, like, and that type of stuff. And I think the director of that, Carlos, also taught a class called what was it called? Solo Performance, and he basically was getting us all to create our own one-man show type of things. And we would come in every other week with like a new idea and inkling of something. And it was just like such a intense but fun and creative class of just, I couldn't believe some of the stuff that people were creating. Like one of my classmates, she created a suffragette woman doing seances. And it was like the funniest thing I had ever seen. And she would have like rapping, like people tapping on the other sides of the door. And it was just a comedy piece based on that. And it was just based on, he had a stack of cards and they just said like one word on it. And then we would just riff on that. That was one kind of way of developing different types of material. But really it was great to create single kind of, I don't know how to describe it, single kind of worlds, just on your own. And that was so much fun. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I'm thinking about, you know, actors, you know, people think of them as interpretive artists or creative artists.
Yeah.
Like, and it seems like that you kind of were learning there to like, because you said the stories I want to tell. It's like more of a creative, not just what is the material? Let me fit into that world. Yeah. But also being creative.
Yeah.
Which I think you do with your work. I do think you have a lot of questions. Yeah. And the way you approach it is like more on a kind of proactive, creative aspect. Does that make sense?
That's what I want to do. I think the problem is, and I had this, I feel, earlier in my career, and I'm still trying to let it go and shut it, but there is a thing of trying so hard to fit into the box and fit into what you think they want, whoever they is, the executives, this, that. And I did it there too. Like I found at times I was like, why am I trying to make this certain teacher happy? And what is that? Like, where is that coming from? Why? And is that getting me closer to the role? Is that getting me closer to the person that I'm portraying? And I think the older I get, the more I'm a little bit just like, you have to find it within you and kind of push for a more self-satisfying thing. And it's like a balance. You have to find it, like find a way to appease them and then also find a way to appease yourself. True. But it is kind of finding that weird solo performance of creativity and finding that and pushing for that in your work. And that's, I think that's finding your voice in acting.
That's really important. I mean, you know, I think I mentioned this, but there was a famous acting dude who said, you know, there's no such thing as boring acting, just boring actors. Yeah. You know, it's about being an interesting human,
Oh yeah.
you know, and understanding your point of view and what I want to tell.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah.
You know, which, I mean, it's collaborative, as we were talking
Yeah.
before. But so you're getting to the end of DePaul. Do they have like a big showcase?
We did. That's how I got my first agent.
Gotcha.
My manager brought an agent, and then
And you got your manager from this short film?
from the short film.
And the short film you shot, what, your senior year or?
No, we shot it my junior year. And that was so much fun. And it was cool, too, because we went to New York, and that was, like, premiering at the Brooklyn Film Festival. And
But you said you met Eddie, the director, at a party. So he was he not in the program at DePaul?
No, he was at Columbia College, and he was a screenwriter. And then he went to AFI, and then he left AFI because he just kind of blew up. He sold a couple scripts, and he's talented, and yeah. But it was such a great thing meeting him. He was just a friend at first, but he met me, and then he was like, "I kind of had you in mind for this film I'm trying to shoot," and it was just fun, us hanging out and shooting this film quickly as like, I don't know, as people in college, and just trying to make something out of nothing. We didn't have the high-end equipment and all the stuff that he has access to now, and there's something really, really great about just creating stuff with your friends.
I was just going to say, I think
DIY.
that's beautiful. You know, the fact that I mean, it could have been a beautiful story if you guys were classmates in the same program, but the fact that you just met him randomly at a party, became friends, and then from there, it became this really kind of leaping off launch point for you. I think it's really great. And I think people should at least start working with their friends. Like, just work, right? If you have an opportunity to work with people you trust and you love and you can collaborate with, what a great way to learn the process.
Exactly.
Right? You know?
I think the problem is a lot of people want it to be perfect and want it to be this big thing that will launch them, and it's like, it's not going to be that the first couple times. But there's so much beauty kind of in the imperfections and in the fun stuff that you're figuring out with your friends, and the stuff that you're learning from that, rather than, oh, this has to be the big film that goes to Sundance that will get me the manager, the agent, all this stuff. It's like, no, you can find little tweaks, and then maybe on the next one you know a little bit more, and then you can go from there, and then it gets further and further and further. But you're not going to knock it out of the park in the first.
No, they always say you try to write a hit song, you're never going to write a hit song.
No,
Right?
absolutely
That's
not.
that classic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that becomes a little bit, I mean, back in the day, it was you'd work out your stuff on little shitty theater 99 seat. No one would come plays, and you'd be crappy and thank God no one saw it.
Yeah. But
You
now
know, and
it's
then
all on film.
Now it's like, let's do it right away and put it out. And I'm like, maybe pump the brakes on that. Let's just screen
Burn
that to
all the
our
recordings of
friends.
those.
You know, because they think that's the one that's going to become the viral hit. That's going to, or the, Sundance one, and it's just this kind of process.
Yeah.
But like, speaking of like just hitting a home run, your first pilot audition.
I don't know. I think that might be a lie. I don't know if it's my first pilot audition, but it.
Okay, so are you in LA? You.
Yeah, I spent, I think, 4 months in Chicago after I graduated, and I got a call from my agent in Chicago, and they were like, "Do you want to go in for an Orville Redenbacher popcorn commercial?" And I was like, "No, I have to leave, please." Like, I love Chicago so much.
My initial answer would be hell yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah.
Free popcorn.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, it was because of kind of going to free popcorn for life. It was because of going to school and kind of, I don't want to say it made me like, it just made me want to do not just work that will like pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I can't stay in Chicago. There's more out there, and I want to try to go for, getting on a TV show. Because if I stayed in Chicago, you get lucky if you get on one of the like Chicago PD or Chicago Med or that, and then you can only maybe do one episode unless they make you like a regular or something. And it's tough, and that in itself is really difficult work because you're doing 22 episodes, and it's kind of more of the same thing. It's like maybe you don't get so much of like character arc. You get just I'm a bleeding car accident victim of just that, and I was like, I gotta come out here.
More proof that you were really on a film and television route, though, right?
Yeah.
Because Chicago has a killer theater scene.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So if you had thought to yourself that you really wanted a career in the theater, for example, you might have considered maybe even staying in Chicago and pursuing that kind of world for a bit, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's testament to you that you were really, really focused on wanting to do film and television.
Yeah.
You know, and they say, I mean, like they, you know, back in the day, all roads lead to Rome. I mean, if you're going to do film and television, at least, you know, it's really New York or Los Angeles. Thank God there's other cities that are starting to, you know, pop up, but really it's these two places, right? So,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So you're there for 4 months and you're like, all right,
I
this
have to
is just
leave.
kind of bullshit.
Yeah, but I knew it. Like, it's what Dan and I talked about day one at DePaul.
Yeah.
We were just like, we want to go be out here. This is what we want to do. And I packed up my car and I moved out here. And I remember going in for Under the Dome, and that was I want to say that was, I got here in August, and then that was around Thanksgiving. Was the first time I went in, and then I had to go in about 6 or 7 times.
Really?
And that was painful, and it was like, how much more do you guys like want? Like, am I the guy or not?
Different scenes, same one. They were just working you with other people, or
same 2 scenes, and then they added an extra one. But it was it was tough just going back in and waiting 3 months. I think I found out in February, I finally got it. And that was so difficult. I was like, what do I do? Like, what do I do? What am I doing wrong? What do I need to prove that like I can do this? And I really love the story, and I love Stephen King's work, and I just thought it was such a cool pilot. And yeah, I was like, what, like, how many times do I have to come?
Are you getting feedback on it? Are they telling you we want more?
A little bit. They were like, you're doing great. I'm like, that doesn't help me. Like, what is that? What do you want?
But that's fascinating psychologically that here it is, you're coming back 6 or 7 times. And for you, it might have been a glass half empty thing where you thought, there's something wrong. I'm not getting this.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't, that's really interesting that it wasn't the opposite perspective, that it wasn't, God, they're calling me in 6 or 7 times. Like, they really like me. They want to make this fit.
They want to see me for free.
I'm a pessimist. Yeah. So I guess that at least I was then, but it was just like, yeah, I was like, why is it taking so long to make this decision? And part of it was I was brand new, and it came down to me and this other guy, and he had more credits, and yeah, that was like Sharon Bialy like really fought for me and got me into it. So yeah.
And when you talk about the guy, what you just talked about, the other guy that was being considered with the other credits, did you hear that through feedback from your manager or your agent, or through casting? I'm curious, like how that kind of
manager. Okay. I think. Yeah.
And did you find that helpful, or was that even more intimidating for you?
It was helpful. I think so, but I was just trying to focus on what could I do more of. What could I do? And I remember being in my living room around like going in for audition number 5 or something, and maybe it was in front of a whole theater of network people, and I'm just like, how can I go deeper? What can I do? And it's just all about, and the older I get, the more I think about this, it's all about repetition and just finding new things, of just going over it and over the whole thing as much as you can, and finding new depth. And maybe that's the solo performance thing.
It's
that I
great.
really-
Beautiful that you're using the word depth, right?
Yeah.
Not trying to reinvent the wheel and going, what I'm doing is not working. I need to bring them something completely different, but just
Yeah.
diving in deeper to what
Yeah.
and strengthening the choices you kind of were already making, right?
Yeah, because you can find new things every single time. You can find new.
And then how are you doing that? Are you doing that through the repetition?
Yeah.
And so at that time, are you working it out with? Do you have a friend come over and you're running the scene with them?
I was doing that a little bit.
How are you finding that depth? Is it through reading it over and over again and then discovering it, analyzing the script at that time?
That at that time, and I'm still a big believer in this. I think text analysis is everything. I think that was a huge skill, learning that at DePaul and evaluating. And that was the tough shift for me, because it was coming from theater scene of getting so much rehearsal and having all this time to really talk about it, and then coming to film and television, you're just like, go, like, and what can you get from that? So still, even if you have one night to come up with something, finding stuff in that repetition and finding stuff to kind of pull out of, the words that you've maybe read, you realistically in a night, maybe 20, 30 times, but finding new bits from it. And then when you go in the second time, trying to go further with it and make it more grounded and more you too. Yeah.
And what does the text analysis process look like?
Mine of when back then?
Okay, well, let me ask you this: How has your process changed from then till now? Because I know what I love about you is that you're still searching. You're still refining your craft and figuring it out and learning from other people and taking classes still and doing your thing and So how has it changed?
God, I used to, and I did this in school, I used to use personal stuff all the time, and that was good at times. I think there's a level of, there's truth to it because it's your own life, but the older I get, the more I'm just like, I don't want to use that. I don't want to keep rehashing kind of these old wounds, and does that really bring me closer to this person I'm portraying?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Kind of. You can have some type of empathetic connection, but I think it's more really putting myself into the other person's mind and heart and body and all that. And that is a lot more fun for me and easier, and I'm a lot more gentle with myself. I think if it works for you, do whatever, but making it less about me and my things and more about who is this person I'm playing and what is their pain and what are their memories and what is their whole experience is so much more fun and rewarding. And I'm able to go home and just be like, okay, put it away.
Right.
It's easier. It's
How do you get
kind.
that? I hear you. Totally.
Yeah.
How do you get that imagination work to stick to your body? You know what I mean? It's like, we could see the script, and how do you get that process of like, for you to the point of believing it, for you to the point of it like resonating?
Ownership.
Ownership.
Yeah. For me, this I've always done, just isolation and repetition, but also just really, I would say, ownership. Yeah, ownership's a good word for that, because it has to be your ideas and your experience of seeing this other person through your own eyes and their eyes. Am I making sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Are you doing dream work? Are you reading it and lying down?
Dream
Are you
work.
imagining?
What's my own dreams? Like,
no. Well, I have a couple
investigate
actors
this.
who do dream work. They read it before they go to bed, and they're kind of telling their subconscious, like, if there's any images or stuff
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
And
And they'll take naps and they'll dream, and sometimes they will
just
tell
sleeping.
themselves.
People
and-
play
sleeping
with
the whole
light,
time.
blue light, and
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
deep REM sleep supposedly really triggers your dream
REM sleep,
recall and
and
stuff
yeah.
like that. And then absolutely. And then keeping a notebook by your bed to be
That
able to
I
write
do.
things.
Yeah.
But like, so are you like reading the material and then in your mind's eye imagining it,
Yeah, imagining memories. I think it was
creating memories and stuff?
Yeah,
like,
kinda
like for
creating
example,
memory.
you just did this independent film,
yeah,
Sightless,
yeah.
and he's got a whole like
Backstory.
major heavy
Yes.
backstory.
Yeah. That doesn't come out until the
The
end.
right. So
Yeah.
he's resonating off it throughout the whole script.
wow.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So it has to be very real from him. So you are figuring out, you're piecing together
Yeah.
his whole shit that's just talked about or implied or not
Yes.
even there.
Yeah, and doing research on people who had gone through. I'm trying not to like reveal too much.
Of course,
people who had gone through similar things, and that I don't know what I can tell.
No, but you could just talk in general.
okay, so yeah.
So you're doing research on similar aspects of the character
Yeah.
that you know about.
Yeah.
That you can physically see. For example, if you were to play a drug addict,
Yeah.
which is this is not Sightless. I guess the method way would be go out and do it,
No.
right?
Oh my gosh.
Or if you had been to kind of dip into that world again,
Yeah.
which
Can
you've
be
decided,
painful.
yes, it's been painful and could be
can
detrimental.
be, yeah.
Or you do research
Yeah.
around that,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I would. It's about getting closer to the thing. I think there is kind of a going into the dream thing. There is this I believe in. There is like kind of a subconscious thing, and I think that you can put yourself closer to this person that you're playing by spending time researching that stuff. If you maybe you had addiction problems, you're closer to that. You naturally like, okay, I'm closer to this person I'm playing naturally just because I have that connection, and that's easier to get into. But there is kind of this world that and this is in the repetition, this isn't all that stuff that I think that you can get to by absorbing as much as you can, getting as much material as you can, and then you're starting to have dreams about it, or you're just starting to daydream about it. That for me, like,
Or in
thinking about
life,
it.
you're opened up and things will happen and articles will come around and conversations and it like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck.
It's like you're tuning into a radio frequency.
Yeah.
Just like you're like, oh, I'm starting to hear a lot more about stuff with addiction and stuff, and you're hearing those stories, and then you're like, okay, how does that, maybe, at least with me, sometimes I go, oh, how does that connect with the work I'm doing right now? How does this connect with this person I'm playing?
You're using the word connection a lot, which I think is great. that
Yeah.
You're using all these tools to connect.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you're doing research, though, are you looking for playable choices? I mean, if text analysis is such a big thing, here
Yeah.
you are, looking at the script that you have, looking
Yeah.
at the sides you have, doing research. I mean, are you trying to find playable things from the research, or is it really purely about connection and relationship and just finding a way to be in touch with that condition or that person or that world or whatever?
I think, well, the text gives you especially if it's like a good writer, great writer, the text gives you so much that you can get into the head of this person, and that knowing it down to it, like, because if you're working in TV, sometimes it's so tough. You get something the night before and it's like this big emotional scene or something. It just moves so quickly, and you don't always get the time to really delve into it. But when you have the time to know it, like, you could be woken up in the middle of the night and you can just be like running the scene with someone, and just knowing the text and not necessarily planning anything. I think planning kind of ruins the spontaneity of it all. But being able to like wake up in the middle of the night, run it, have not any preconceived notions of how the scene is going to go, I think that is amazing. And that's how I've found weird things within myself and within working with other people, that I'm happy with the work when I've worked that way. And yeah, I think there's just so much into the text that can lead you down the path of who this person is. And knowing every comma, every period, knowing the text so well, not planning anything, but knowing also the past history through the text can give you like just gallons and gallons and gallons of stuff to absorb. Yeah. It can really help. It can be really, I think it can be really informative and kind of what the arc of the scene is, especially if it's something that you're not seeing, if you're playing someone who just isn't being honest, and there's something going on underneath. I think it can be informative, but then I also believe in you show up on the day, I'm not gonna be thinking about that. I feel like I'll have the script and whatever, the words and everything, and have it all in me as much as I can, and then you have to kind of go, I'm here with this other person, and we're trying to make something. And it's not going to be all this stuff that I planned. Planning will take away from the fun, like, of what you're doing. Just because it's never going to be exactly as you planned.
Well, you talked about this before with acting, preconceived notions, right?
Yeah.
I think similar thing in writing. I think if a writer wants to reveal character through stage directions, I think that's brilliant. But sometimes you see them trying to control a performance before they ever experience an actor bringing what they're bringing to it, and I think that goes back to what you're saying. I mean, you're pre-planning too much. You're not allowing for spontaneity. They're not allowing for an actor to bring something that they might not have anticipated. Right?
Yeah.
A way of saying the line that they would have never thought of when they were writing it, right? That just reveals itself. It can be a beautiful thing. And I think if you control that too much in the parentheticals and he sighs or beat or all those things, I think sometimes they can.
And that's a
get
weird
away.
thing, because it seems the scripts are written for a reader to read, to sell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, to really paint that picture.
To really paint a picture. And then it could be detrimental to the actor, because when you get it on its feet, things are different, and you have your creative thing. And so that sigh and whatever.
But it informs.
It does.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Well, how do you deal? So you're talking about being on set and then being open to the other actor. How do you deal with that being in auditions when
That's tough.
you're not getting necessarily
If someone's like
just reading it and
Yeah.
they're just kind of bringing you through, but
Yeah.
where it kind of is by looking at that. How do you deal with your spontaneity and creativity in those situations?
good things can come out of being frustrated with the reader.
So allowing how you're feeling to really in the moment to come out
but
through
it's tough
that.
too, because it's like you're there, and they want the whole performance, and it's like, I've had this for a day. What do you want me to, like? You want me to create the pen? They're going to give you the really, maybe it's like a dramedy. They're going to give you like a really funny scene. You have to do all the comedy, and then it's like, okay, the penultimate breakup scene or something like that, and it's like, I just got this last night. You want me to do the biggest scene in your movie right now? Why? Like, it's just like, how can I give you the thing? Because it's like, also the thing I'm doing in the audition room is not necessarily going to be the thing that I'm going to do on set. And I think auditions are just so tough. They're like the weirdest, most informal thing, and it's like kind of going back to the school stuff. You can't really judge someone on just one audition, one meeting, and in a whole, whatever prep time we have, like 2 months, something entirely new could come out of it. So yeah, the best actors don't always get the role in the audition room.
But obviously, you've been successful in the audition process.
Yeah, yes and no. Yeah.
Okay, it's one of the reasons we're sitting here talking with you, which I think is
Sure.
great. You're a working actor. You have a nice, impressive resume. So you've
getting there.
achieved.
Yeah, thank you.
You've
Thank you.
achieved a result, right?
Yeah.
So help us a little bit understand that. How does the person who is a storyteller, who comes from a creative process, how do you navigate the audition? How do you find your way? How do you bring something special and spontaneous in an environment that has so much that's working against that, you know?
Just being there and being weird and being so in it that you're not even thinking about the reader, you're not even thinking about the other person. You're just there and present and feeling it. And then it's like, the auditions that I feel like I really knock out of the park, are the ones where I have so much fun and I lose myself in it, and I go there and I can be crazy and just have fun, and they're laughing or they're like really invested in it, and it's eerie. It's like this, you get this weird feeling, and there's like this weird quiet that kind of happens. And usually the ones that I get further on the auditions or the scenes I do, there's something that I feel. I just go like, wait, I think that went really well. And then you're leaving. But maybe it's like, I don't know, some type of delusion. But I was feeling that during Under the Dome. Like, I think during that audition process, leaving, I would just go back in my car and I was like, I was completely taken out of myself. And I lost myself for a second. Yes, love that. Like, the more you can lose yourself in the moment.
I'll paraphrase
Eminem,
an artist from Detroit.
Yeah.
Another artist from Detroit, Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Supposedly, she talked about the music that she most connected with when she sang was gospel music. And she said she sometimes knew that she was in the moment because she would remember the first note she would sing, she would remember the last note she would sing, but she would have no memory or recollection at all of anything that happened in between. And I thought that's amazing, right? To be so in the moment like that you lose all sense of time.
Quantum leap.
Beautiful.
It's like,
that's exactly right.
No, but it is something
that's
like,
exactly right.
There's, when you get to that point, it's the best thing. And I think I felt it a lot more in theater because of the rehearsal process and all that. I think rehearsal is so great. And but just getting lost and not having any preconceived notions of how it's going to go, that is, I think, why I like doing this, because you never know, and you're just there and present and you're having fun, even if it's painful.
You've mentioned the word fun, which I think is amazing. The fact that you've experienced fun. Like, how do you do that? Like, it's a terrifying process to audition. Is it a yes and? Like, yes, it's terrifying, but yes, I'm having fun?
Yeah.
Or do you find a way to put that terror and that nervousness and all those kind of expectations and pressures that you put on yourself, do you put that aside to have fun? I'm curious how that ends up happening in auditions that you enjoy.
Yeah. It takes me a second sometimes to just not be in my head, but when I'm out of my head, it's the best feeling, and it's like no nerves, no worry about like where the scene's gonna go. If it's written well, it'll take you there. Just confidently knowing it so well and just going there, because it's fun to go on the journey. It's fun to go whatever with the story, be there with the person, and finding whatever we're going to find in the scene is just a cool thing. And that's why this is like an amazing job. I think it can be such a cool, intimate moment. And there was a movie, what was it, I did 2 years ago called Maya Dardell, that I had a really great epiphany, and I was working with Lena Olin, and she's amazing. She's so good. She would just take her time all the time. We would sit there, we're doing the scene, and she would just sit there and she would forget her lines at times. Not forget her lines, that's doing disservice to her. She would seem to go up on her line. She'd kind of sit there and she'd stare at the ceiling for a second. and then seamlessly like go right back into it. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And then we have this really intense kind of thing, and I had so many ideas of how it should go at first. And then when we showed up on set, unfortunately, we both there was kind of like a physical thing. We accidentally both hit each other in the face. I think it was like a hand. So we both hit each other in the face, and there was something, a weird happy accident, something that came from that made the last scene, the last like interaction we have with each other, it just gave it like this richness and changed the scene completely. And I loved it. There was kind of like this weird, are you okay from the thing that happened? Like, are you, like, I didn't mean, like, she hit me in the face and I accidentally hit her in the face and it was terrible. And it was like, are you, Lena, the actor, okay? And then it informed the scene kind of. And that was just a great moment of like, oh, I had one tiny idea of how the scene should go. It's so much better and so much cooler if whatever's happening, even if it's in real life of this accident, physical accident, something great just came out of it.
Improv ethos, right?
Yeah.
To use what's happening, to use what's available, to use what's happening in the moment, and incorporating that in the work.
It's those moments that like kind of like Stanislavski used to talk about the happy accident, like in during a show, the tea is knocked over, and it brings you so present. You're like, there I am. I have to deal with the tea on the floor. I can't deny it. And if you include it, if you have the courage to include it and not deny it, it can just like bring up the reality. You know what I mean? In this fiction,
terrify me, making mistakes, like especially on stage, being like, okay, the tea's not there. The tea's not on stage. What do we do? And just being in that, it is the same thing of that weird air that you feel. Like I was talking about earlier with when you leave a scene, you're kind of like, how did that go? When you leave an audition, you're like, how did that go? I think that went well. It's kind of, I think they're one and the same of that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. There's something here. And I just have to figure it out. But it used to terrify me being on stage and being like, we skipped a part. We went really far ahead. And I had done that during one show, and I was like, I skipped a major part. And I have to figure out a way later.
Remember what I said before.
We were doing Wait Until Dark, and it was just we did it in a classroom at the theater school, and it was one of our last shows. It was just me and a couple friends just put it together. And I went up on my, it was during the time we were doing Showcase and coming out here and auditioning out here, and I was so split focus, but I forgot an important part of the scene. Or I skipped ahead I had this huge monologue, and I skipped ahead in one part, and I had to like find a way to reincorporate it back later in the thing to explain that there was heroin in this doll and stuff like that. And there was something kind of, it was funny and scary, but there was something so fun about like being like, okay, I have to fix this now.
It can make everything electric from that moment on, right?
The scene was so intense after that. It was amazing because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now, but I'm going to explain this plot point and bring it back into it so the story makes sense. And that was a fun show. Yeah.
So when you come over here to do tapings and coach, I see a lot of writing on your script. Yeah. What the hell is that?
My crazy inner monologue. I don't know.
Thoughts that the character has?
Some of that. It really depends. There's actions, beats.
Like actions like I want to destroy you. To
destroy, to uplift, to humor, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. What else? I'm starting to... I usually draw like little pictures or like write something. I draw a little square, and then I'll put something in the box, like a memory or some type of image, and finding this mental image. If I'm talking about in the scene something with my aunt, I'll be like, okay, what is this moment? And then I'll kind of step away from the script and I'll kind of plot through what that I think as realistically as possible as I can, plot through what I think that moment was and try and experience it through senses and what do I remember, and like
because a
what
lot
did
of
she
acting
smell
is
like?
about
What did she-
images. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
talk about your aunt, like if I talk about my aunt Nancy, I'm picturing her. You know what I mean? I can
Perfume or
see her
something like-
perfume,
yeah.
the way she dresses, the tone of her voice,
Yeah.
her essence,
Mhm.
and so you have to do that. And
Yeah.
so part of that is about
We forget etymology. You know, I'm going to go back to words,
Love
but we
it.
forget imagination, image,
Yes, yeah.
and nation. Right?
Yeah.
It's intricately connected to it. You have
Yeah.
to have an image, and image comes before thoughts,
Yeah.
comes before words. Right? The process of how a human can think
Yeah,
about
it's
something.
that primal thing in there that just you can have all the words, you can have all that stuff, but really experiencing it and really feeling it and kind of really creating who the ant was, whether it's your own ant or whether it's something that you created, is so important to the imagination and all this work that we do. Because you can know your lines, you can do that, and you can give a good performance, but there's the people that I really love and look up to have this kind of rich inner life that when I don't know. Oh, okay. So Anthony Hopkins in what's that movie? Meet Joe Black.
Mm-hmm.
When he talks about his deceased wife, there's like a crack in his voice that is so good, and it just like haunts me to this day. I still think about that because Brad Pitt's character talks about, what does he say? Oh, what was your wife like? And he goes, oh, she had on this little blue suit, and he gets choked up, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's there. That image is so stark in his mind and so clear of that first moment of meeting his wife and then like losing her and all that. It's just like those images are everything. You have like finding those, like that's to me is the most important thing to find, and that will take you on the journey.
I love it. So images, text analysis,
Yeah.
you talked about repetition.
Yeah.
You're looking at actions and images and creating those on your script. And like you said, you're writing a lot of stuff on your script, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and then I throw it out on the day. You have to, because if you're going back to your script and you're like, well, I thought about this and I wrote all this. It's like writing all that stuff is just getting me closer to what I'm trying to do on the day. Yeah.
And for do you do the same process for auditions? Are you able
Try
to
to.
as much as you can?
Yeah.
Are you able to condense that and kind of put that in the time frame of an audition if you have you get the script the night before? Are you able to kind of
Well, that's what those little boxes are for. You get those moments and you're like, okay, I have to get up and be there at 10 o'clock tomorrow. What are the most important parts of this script that I need to kind of flesh out, and what's my idea and what's my take on it? How did I see this moment with my deceased wife? Like, how did I see it? Like, how am I feeling it? Like, what is it? And because that's what you have to come in with, the big performance of the big penultimate scene, and you have to come in with something. And there's so many, like, because in that limited time, if you need to get kind of personal, you can use that stuff, but I don't know, I think it can be a little damaging, but yeah, it's like any way you can get there, I think is totally valid.
And when does the memorization of lines come into play for you? Is it after you do the work?
It used to be at the beginning, and now I think it's the last thing, and I'm so much happier in my work now.
Right.
I think knowing the history of the person, and it's important, yeah, but if you don't have that back story,
what's
And
underneath.
text it doesn't
And then the words
mean
come
anything.
easier, no?
Then you're the- what?
It
What were you gonna say?
The memorization comes so much easier after
Oh,
all this,
yeah.
right?
It's like
Yeah.
you just get it.
Yeah.
And knowing the text, you might as well just be the reader in the room that's giving you nothing, just being like crystal geyser, natural alpine spring water. If you don't have like the
You've got the part, kid. That was
Yeah,
great.
thank you. I can do more.
No, that's good. Thank you very
Always
much. Next.
bottled. Okay. Yeah, I think there's so much richness in the stuff that isn't the text.
Right.
Creating that.
And then I see sometimes you have little hashtags of
Hashtag.
like little like one like the little marks with the cross like
no,
5.
I do the stars.
The stars. Yeah, no, it's the stars.
That's Anthony Hopkins again. So he reads a scene 200 times
Mm-hmm.
or something, and I started doing that. That really helps me, and that's like more of getting it into your body.
And the
seeing
star
it.
is every time that you've read it, or
It's
every
like a
time
mark. Yeah, read through the scene, mark. That's one part of the star. Do it again. Read it 5 times. You get all these stars, and then it's just stacking up and up. And
Brilliant. That's awesome.
yeah, but he just does that, which is so crazy. He just does that, and he has. I think he just does it like with a crayon, and just marks it up that way. And he just likes to. But he talks about it. It's a thing of the scene will carry you, and yeah, he's just amazing.
True
That's
meaning
why
again of
Sir
rehearsal.
Anthony
We've said this before, but the true meaning of rehearsal, to rehear, right? Over and
Yeah.
over again, to rehear.
Yeah.
And so are you running the lines out loud with somebody? Do you have a friend or no?
You know, I do sometimes.
Because you come here with a lot of text.
Yeah.
And you're on.
Yeah.
Like you know it. I mean,
Yeah.
and not like know it like a robot,
Thank you,
but
Tom.
you
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean? Like you just know it. But I'm like, holy fuck, this was like
Yeah.
this what like literally a whole page of monologue, and it's
Yeah.
like word for word.
Yeah. Well, no, you catch me a lot of the time.
Well.
No, there was a comma in there. But
If it's important.
I think if you read it out loud, sometimes you're going to have a preconceived thing, have it in your head how you're going to say it. And it's true, like we in life, you know, if you're gonna go tell off your boss or something, you're gonna be like, "This is exactly how I'm gonna say it in my head." You'd be like,
But
"Fuck
so-
you! You didn't give me the raise." Blah blah blah. But I think the more you do it out loud with your friends, you can get into
Okay.
a locked thing. Unless you do it no emotion attachment to it, just running through it. That's
Right.
fine. I'm
Right.
totally fine with that.
But you are at one point because you've done all that work, but then you got like a big chunk. Are you like looking at it and then putting it down and checking it, or no? It just through all that work, it just
Yeah, I don't like to go. I don't know. It really depends case on case.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that monologues are big bits of dialogue are just like that's the best part. Monologues are the best part. It's like, why is someone talking this long about something? Why are they so impassioned in this moment? What is there that is driving them in that scene, that is making them like that is the big like peep into the keyhole of this person's life to see so much of what is going on in the inner workings. And like, okay, Sam Shepard, for example, the doing Alive the Mind, the whole, and I didn't do this in college, I would love to revisit it, but there's a big monologue at the beginning about how, I think Jake is his name. Jake talks about his wife going to these rehearsals, and like I still think about that monologue all the time. But he talks about his wife going to these rehearsals, and she's not paying attention to him and not giving him what he needs, and she's pretending in this world. She's pretending, and like why can't she pretend with me? And like finding and just like this rage building up, and him being like, you need to be my wife. You need to stop doing this pretend world with this other guy that you're off. Maybe you're fucking him. Maybe you're doing all this stuff. Stop it. I need you. And like finding that, like now I think about it, I'm like, oh, this is great. need of like, I need my wife to love me and be there for me. And if I don't, I will break everything in this room, including her. I will smash everything to pieces because I need that so badly. Talking about this monologue about, saying this monologue about his wife just not wanting him and finding that like, oh, it's this primal thing. Like there's so much, you find the core, I think, in those monologues, in the primal urges. It's like, why? Because, I mean, we're doing it now. We're monologuing a little bit, but like we don't often do it in life. We're not Bond villains. Like we don't. You don't reveal your
as much as we want to.
Yeah. All the time. Boat, white suit.
But it's beautiful. Like you're talking about the difference. I think it's beautiful to talk about wants when you're talking about acting, but you're talking about needs, which I think is a beautiful thing to propel you in a scene, in a moment, especially in a monologue. The need to say what you want, what you need to say.
Yeah.
Right? That is a beautiful motivating force. You know? And I think it's great to explore.
And where does it come from in childhood? So like Jake, the character, that person had an abusive father, and then he watched him run out. He went like drinking with him on a Mexican highway, and they did a shot in every single bar, and then he watched his dad get hit by a car, and his dad always being away on like secret missions and that type of stuff. Like I'm remembering all this right now. There's something about his upbringing and that need and that abuse that he went through with it, and that need of his father coming back, who's this big war hero, needing him to come back, that then transfers over to this woman that he falls in love with, and that childlike urge and need. There's something so interesting in that. And I think well, it's in all art that there's, what is it? Childhood rediscovered at will. That's genius. I'm not saying I'm a genius.
Wait,
at all.
say that again.
The
childhood
Baudelaire or something. Yeah, Charles Baudelaire.
We're gonna look that.
Charlie Baudelaire.
It's that genius is childhood rediscovered at will.
Wow.
That when you're painting as a kid, without the other voices of like, oh, this is how you should do it, this is how you should create this, you're just listening to yourself, and you're listening to your own inner voice, and like, how did I want to paint this draft, and finding that. I think that's the most important thing in art, and just having fun with it and losing yourself in it, and not thinking about what the art teacher wants, what the director wants so much that you're just lost in it. But you can still be open to, little nudges, go this way, go that way.
That's so amazing, because I think of Kristen Linklater, who's this voice teacher. She talks about in the beginning of her book that yes,
there you go.
drop downs, all that. But she talks about how a baby can scream and never loses its voice. She talks about the natural instrument when we were before we got all this bullshit.
The pang, I think she calls it, right? The hunger pang.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's hunger.
Right.
That's the need. When you're a baby, one thing, like, I'm hungry, I'm going to
And
scream
it's
because
pure.
I need it now.
It's crying, it's pure. And then we fuck it all up with don't cry, man. Tension in our voice that we can't like, and people lose their voice all the time. But it's this thing, childhood discovered at will. It's this purity of childhood that we're going back to and accessing. In acting. I don't know, it just reminded me of that.
But yeah, you're now an adult baby trying with the means to get the food, but it's still that primal.
That might be the joy in acting.
That is.
You're talking about those experiences when you're taken in it, and it's like you're taken on a wave. You get to
We talk about this a lot. I mean, the pretend, we sometimes complicate things a lot. But if we go back to when we were children, when we pretended, we were in those moments. We believed that we were cowboys and Native American Indians. Cops and robbers. We believed that we were playing those roles. And we believed that we were knights and there was a lion and a... we absolutely committed to that 1,000%, and we lose that along the way sometimes.
Yeah, and it was like you won by believing the most. By believing, like, I am the knight slaying the dragon, I am the Ninja Turtle, I am the superhero, whatever, I'm Superman, and I'm able to be the most Superman without everyone being like, you ignore the other things of people coming in and being like, no, you're not.
That's right.
But just... finding that and playing it to the utmost degree is the best. It's
you
fun.
Win by believing the most.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it.
That's amazing. You talked about Lena Olin.
Yeah.
Having that. I mean, are there any other experiences with actors, you working with someone and going, oh, like a light bulb hits by their process or working with them? Are there any other examples of that you think of?
One is coming to mind, but it's a really goofy thing.
If it comes...
Dwight Yoakam,
okay,
yes, the country singer.
Yeah, man,
he was on the show.
He can bring it, that man.
He's
got acting chops.
Yeah. He him in not Escape Room, Panic Room. He's so great in that. But he was out there, and he was just like riffing before the scene started, and I loved doing that with him. I would do that in college with friends. Because the scene starts before the camera's even rolling, so we would just riff. That was really great, and he was just fun. And I never knew what was going to happen in the scene. That was a great thing with him. He was going to say whatever was on his mind. Loved that. Yeah, he was the type of person, he would show up on set and would just go. He was very much of coming from, I think he went to Yale or Harvard, one of the Ivy League schools or something. But he would just come on set and just be finding whatever it is on the day. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a great... I don't think... Yeah. I don't think I understood it as much back then when we were working together, but now I definitely do. Mm-hmm. And he was just great. He's like a brick of a guy. And
please come and talk to us, Dean.
Yeah, we'll get
please.
And what about Michael Chiklis? What was it like working with him?
Michael Chiklis was amazing on The Shield. I played a cadaver on The Shield.
Michael Chiklis, please come and talk to us. Please. We would love to talk to you as well.
Where is he? Yeah.
Amazing.
I can't think of anyone else. There's other people too that really influenced me in Eddie Cahill was he played my uncle on the show, and mm-hmm. At one time we were talking, he's like, I've done like 300 something hours of television, because he was on 10 seasons of CSI New York and stuff. And
I've coached Eddie.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
He just has such a good like spirit about everything.
Yeah. So what was the thing you got from him?
He would just the way he would talk about being on a show and how to be there even when you're on like season 7 and finding things, finding new things and keeping it fresh, even though you're playing someone for 10 years, which can get so monotonous and crazy. At least the thing of like 7-year contracts can be daunting, and like it's great. Yeah. And you get paid, and it's amazing to have a job like that, but it can kind of take the heart and joy out of things at times. And if you can find it within yourself and finding new things in the character and finding new things in the people that you're playing, even though you're a little bit tired from 4 or 5 seasons like of playing this person, that you can find something new. And especially having like a good person at the helm, like a great showrunner, is paramount. Or great director, same thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Tommy? He likes to ask his signature question.
I was going to ask that. Do you want me to ask that?
Yes, please.
So my question is there Is there anything surprising about being a working actor that you didn't expect? Something, that you had a preconceived notion maybe about what you thought it was going to be, and now that you've been in it, what surprises you? What thing have you discovered that you wish you might have known before you started that might have helped you even more than realizing it now?
I had such a crazy journey so far. I got out of school. I was working really, really hard, and I got under the dome really quickly. And that was wow, I can't believe it. I'm so lucky. I'm doing this huge show. And then going to do the show, it changed some perspectives for me. And there was some point where I was feeling a little bit creatively stifled. And I was like, okay, I have this great opportunity. Why do I feel funny? I feel off. I feel like I'm missing something. And then, it was this is what Eddie was talking about, finding it, season 3, finding the reasons to keep finding new things and finding it in kind of, it's we're doing episodes where new threat every single week. That was kind of oh, okay, I thought I don't know. I thought it was very different than what I thought it would be. And it was great. But there was something I was I want more, and I want to do more. And then kind of as I've gotten older, it's you have to do it. Mm. It's your job to bring yourself to the level that you want it to be at. And there was a couple years where I was just I'm bored. I'm not having fun, and I wasn't booking anything. And now I think I'm rediscovering having fun again. And it was I was getting back to the point of when I was on audition number 5 or 6 and being in my apartment, running it and thinking about it and being weird and not method locking people up or anything, but just getting back to that and getting out of your head. Just getting out of your head is, I think, the most important thing. And there's so much now of Instagram and this and that can pull you back into this, I don't know, ego space that is not good for the actor and not conducive. And seeing so many opinions of people and hearing all that can just cause so much static in your head, and you just have to find a way to put it all aside and just do the thing. Just do whatever it is you're set out to do in the scene and find it. Yeah.
And you talked about being weird a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? Is that a philosophy of just following your impulses and just allowing whatever to happen? Let your freak flag fly, as they say?
Oh, yeah. I think so. Because that's the best part. That is the best part of you. There's so much of needing to fit into a certain box. That's not interesting. Trying to be the repeat of someone else. There's only one you. Trying to be a repeat of someone else or fit into this classic Hollywood type actor. That's not interesting. There's the actors I really love have weird personality, like Jack Nicholson or I don't know. I mean, John Cassavetes, all of his films have this truth and realism and this gritty quality that comes out. And then if you stifle yourself and try to fit into the box, you're not bringing anything to the table. It's why do it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. All right. Last question.
Okay.
I'm going to keep you here all Sunday.
It's okay.
What advice or thoughts would you give, the classic question, the younger actor, the person just starting, or even someone who's been in it and wants to I don't know, find another level or something. What would you tell a young actor coming up to you and go, hey man, besides business shit, you know what I mean?
That's the least important thing in the whole
Yeah.
thing. And everyone gets, especially now, everyone gets so wrapped up in it. It's just like, why aren't we focusing on the thing that we're set out to do? The acting part,
Yeah.
the playing part. Like, that is the most important thing. And if you just focus on that, on the craft, because it is a craft, I believe it. And it has this ability to help people transcend to a different level, whether it's the audience or the actor or, I don't know, maybe the editor. Like, my friend used to say, before a show we were doing, she used to say, someone in the audience needs this story. And I think that is so important. She was like, someone needs to see this argument between this couple and be like, I am going to go home and I am going to leave my abusive husband in real life, or something like that. That there is something in storytelling that we need, that we have to connect with, and that's what pushes us in life. And I would say to younger actors, if you can get off Instagram. No, I would say figure out who you are, find your voice in the thing, quiet your mind, and have fun, and don't take it too seriously. It's only life. I mean, yeah, you can, like, I don't know. You can be there is this, like, young, that I used to do, and I hate it so much. The young tortured artist thing is such bullshit. It's utter bullshit. Like, you're not helping yourself by, like, hurting yourself in that way and staying in the negative. And I had to, like, learn that through meditation and through all this stuff of, like, you can get to the core of something great within you by not torturing yourself and finding whatever it is inside you, this story, this urge that you have to tell this part of the story, and why you're suited for playing this person is because you have this great thing inside of you that just abandon torturing yourself getting there and just, I don't know, go. Does that
Awesome.
make sense?
Glad
Glad I hit the
totally.
mic.
Words to live by. That
Yeah.
was a great monologue. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Bond villain.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
You must meditate, Bond.
Now you must die. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, man.
Oh,
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Alex.
yeah.
That
That was awesome.
Cool.